Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 8th episode of the Most Entertaining Podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Chamberlain Bauder. Joining me today is Aanu, host of the Nigerian Football Weekly Podcast, and Aanu, our TME producer. How are we doing, guys? Aanu?
Fantastic,
Nice.
my guy. How are you?
Doing great. Aanu, how are we doing on this fine Sunday morning?
Very good, thank you. Feeling good and happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's get right into it for today. We're going to be talking about Kobbie Mainoo. Where could he go this summer? His contract expires in 2 years, but there's been some speculation he could be sold. These reasons have prompted our discussion today. Obviously, he's said that he potentially, or there's rumors that he said he wants to go. There's also rumors from the same end on Twitter that he wants to stay. Aanu has come out over the summer and said that he would like to keep him, but upon seeing the transfers that have come into Manchester United over the summer, maybe that shows something differently. So our idea today, we're going to come in with 3 different selections, most realistic, most fun, and our wild card. We're going to start out, though, with the most realistic option for today. So, Aanu, I'll go to you first for your thought process on the most realistic option for Kobbie Mainoo this summer.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Just to caveat, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm not as invested in the Mainoo landscape as maybe you guys may be. But I think he's an excellent player. Pretty young. Currently still 19 or 20. Most realistic option. Sorry, I didn't check the rules, but is there an option for him to remain?
Yeah.
Because from the outside, when I look at Kobbie Mainoo or Man United, it almost reminds me of, like, shall I say, the pre-Arteta years or the first few years of Arteta, where you're trying to figure out your squad building, you're trying to figure out who should fit. And this is a player that was starting games in the Euros, a year ago, pretty much. So, I mean, scored in the FA Cup final literally a season ago. So I just feel like Man United have to be careful with finding the balance between backing your manager and getting rid of your crown jewels. You're not a team in this moment where, I mean, I can speak refreshingly as an Arsenal fan now. The days are brighter. Everything smells rosier. But when you look at the teams, I don't think Man United are in a position to get rid of someone like Kobbie Mainoo. When I think of your other midfield options, some of them might even escape me, to be honest. But Ugarte and the likes. Even if your manager at the moment does not have a preference for Mainoo, I don't believe this is a player that you could really afford to let go, if I'm being honest. When I look at his age, he'll probably outlast Ruben Amorim, if we're being honest. I don't know how you United fans feel, but it's clear you're going to give him this season, which basically just means you're going to do a Ten Hag from last year. Give him 10 games, see how he gets on. So I think it will be an absolute disaster if Man United let this player go. It's clear he's not a favorite of your manager at the moment, and you want to give your manager a much ample time to build his squad. But I think most realistic option for me, and what I would hope if I was a United fan, is that Kobbie Mainoo stays right where he's at. He's a homegrown player as well. They're not easy to find, especially ones homegrown at your club. You need 4 of those when you hopefully get back into Europe, which we know is a tough feat right now for United. But I think by far the number one option is he stays put and figures it out with either the manager or the next guy who comes in charge, because this is definitely a talent that's beyond what we saw last season. For whatever reason, it just didn't click. But I think most realistically, he should sit his ass down in Manchester.
I love it, Aanu. And before I send it to Aanu real quick, some points that popped into my head while hearing you talk. First, why would a team want to do? I mean, Kobbie right now better than Paul Pogba when they let him go, right? Why would you want to then ever have a possibility of buying him back? Like, I would just never want to think about that. Second, in that system that Amorim has, he is literally perfect. So it's just like, and realistically, last week when they played Leeds in friendlies, Bruno Fernandes was playing in center mid, not at like a forward cam position. He was playing center mid. So I mean, there's like possibilities with the way that midfield goes, and it was Casemiro and Fernandez in that position. But so yeah, I love the idea of him staying. I fully love it. And I have to go grab my charger real quick, but I will just mute myself and send you over to Aanu for your most realistic option for Kobbie.
So for me, the option that is most realistic for him would be a loan move, because the chances that they sell him are so low, since he is in such like high favor with like the fan base, right? So the loan move is the most likely scenario here, and where I would like him to go would be either to Palace or to Villa, because Palace and Villa will be playing in Europe next season, so they will have a lot of games to play. And in terms of their midfield options, at least for Palace, apart from Sporting, it's like not that great for them. And I think a midfield partnership of Mainoo as well as Warren would be so tasty. So slightly selfish of me, but that's what personally I would like to be the most realistic option for Mainoo.
Interesting. I like it. I definitely like him being in the Prem. I'm gonna stay on your same wavelength with the loan move situation too. But mine, I see where you're coming from in that conversation we had before we started of him being at a point in his career where he needs to get as many games as possible, right? And you want him to constantly play, which also with last season, you're a little worried, like, can he constantly play? Dude definitely put on some good weight this summer, like the right kind of weight this over the last year. I think that chance of that type of injury is going to be a lot less likely now, but there's other types of injuries that become more possible when you put on the weight like that and switch your vibe in that kind of style. But my loan move thought for most realistic option, and this one, last time we talked about places, I was all over the place with some teams that I picked. I like a loan move, first of all, definitely. I don't think that they should at all sell him to Wolves. I want him to play in a 3-4-3 still, or in some sort of a 5-back system, and prove to Amorim while he is somewhere else still playing competitive games in the Prem, that he can play that center mid position. And realistically, it's more seamless than if he comes back. I also like the possibility of a short-term loan and not a full season loan. Going to the first transfer window, going to the winter transfer window, and then, I mean, think about it. At this point in the Prem, injuries happen. Teams get to a point where you're playing 3 games in a week. You can't play the same exact 11 every single time that you go. And eventually, I think in a half a season period, he could prove on a team where, like Wolves, he would easily be, yep, okay, no, we Kobbie Mainoo, yeah, go ahead, do whatever, take over, play the game, be the center of our team, kind of a thing. And then he comes back and can theoretically have proven everything that he needs to Amorim to get a role in that is enough games for him. Then the only thing really there that becomes a question is whether or not he's arguing that he should still be getting paid $180,000 a week.
Wait, that's his salary?
No,
Whoa.
that's what the rumored reports of what he wants to get paid in 2 years are.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not his salary.
Look. Strictly rumors. Strictly
rumors. But those are the numbers that are coming out. Between 120 to 180 are the rumors that have been reported. Meanwhile, same level of validity, also rumors coming out that he just wants to still be at United.
So, yeah, but so like the thing with like the 120K is like that's what they're paying Mudryk at Chelsea. So it's like, I know it sounds mad, but at least for me, he's actually playing football. So, yeah.
To be honest, I
Mhm.
wanted to hear what it's more intriguing if that's his current wage. I do think
No, oh no. It's
the
way
trajectory
lower.
going up until last season and signing a new contract. Like, let's be honest, like look at Arsenal's England internationals. Once you're doing well, that I mean, it's my whole point is to clarify that it's not a crazy wage for him to ask for. I don't believe so. You know, it was just
Yeah.
I just didn't know that was. I was just wondering if that's what he was on already. Like,
That would be crazy, wouldn't it?
because Man United, you lot give out the bread, man. You lot,
Oh yeah.
you
Oh
lot
yeah.
let the money fly, man. Like,
Yeah, you're telling me how
the
much money do they owe Jadon Sancho right now?
yeah, exactly.
He
Oh
So
my
doesn't
God.
even have a number.
yeah,
He
but
literally doesn't have a number for Manchester United, and there are multiple guys on that team right now that don't have numbers that they're paying. But let's keep it rolling. So our most
So wait. So speaking of Mainoo, super quickly, the
yeah,
thing, and since we've just mentioned Sancho as well, the thing that really scares me with Mainoo is I feel like he's being misprofiled in the sense that people don't really know what his best role is. So certain people think, excuse me, some people think it's a six, some people think it's an eight, some people think it's a 10. I'm pretty sure he was played as a striker in like one game, so it's like crazy. Like the closest person I can comp him to is Seedorf, though he does have certain shades of like a Modric too, right? So I think the best role for him is certainly playing as an eight. Probably can play as a six, probably can play as a 10, but I feel like having that freedom of playing as an eight would probably be like the best role for him. And I guess my fear is the club he might move to on loan, they might make the same mistake. So
yeah. I was just about to kind of say I'm on that same wavelength, but think I think realistically, with what he's shown that he can do in the advanced skill set that he has, he should be an 8 because you shouldn't be cutting off his offensive abilities or his defensive abilities by playing him at a 10 or a 6. However, as a person who played my entire varsity career at center back because my coach said, no, you can see the entire field and you can direct people. I need you to be at the back. I don't care if you can score from outside the 18. I'm the kind of person that's like, have you watched the way that he covers for wingbacks at the 6? And he is like stupidly naturally good at it. And that is where I'm like, that does not exist with every player. And so many times people in the world of football want to play, oh, he's fast, he's got to go score. If he's fast, that means he can stop people from scoring too. Like, and he can cover space better than others can. I'm a lacrosse guy too, so I always think about 4-star athletes in lacrosse when they go to college at a 5-star program become defensemen because they can track and they can athletically keep up with all of the guys that are there. They just don't have the same stick skills. So what do? Make them stop the other guys from using their stick skills and have the same athleticism. Like he might have those skills. And in that system, ultimately, with the way that you fill space, eventually he will get those opportunities in an offense, even at a 6. But I think he's so good at playing that position that it's invaluable. The key thing, though, is that he proves that he can play a full season again at a crucial age when he really needs to. All right. Time for fun. But our most realistic options, as we run through them real quick, staying at United, Villa or Palace, and Wolves. So definitely the Prem is where our thoughts are for the most realistic possibility. And it sounds like none of us think that United lets him go. Now, I guess realistically wise, I probably should have admitted that like realism, Manchester United is kind of a business and they really like the idea of profiting off of a player that they never paid anything for. But I'm just going to go back to that Pogba point that I made before we transition into fun. And as we take it right there, our next one, the most fun option for a Kobbie Mainoo. And and Olu. We'll start with you on this one.
That's a great question. I was just trying to look at teams and their current sentiment options. But I am inclined to think alongside them some of the thoughts everyone's thinking in terms of there's a World Cup next year. Kobbie Mainoo knows he's still on the periphery of the England squad, or at least in the thinking, But let's be honest, I love this season coming up because it reminds me of, as you both Americans, contract year in America. When a player like puts up his best move forward, Aubameyang before the contract. But in general, my whole thinking is when I think of fun, where can Kobbie Mainoo go to where he'll play a lot of games, a lot of football games, but he would also stay in the consciousness of the manager to mean that he's either playing, European football or competing for a title. So initially I was thinking about maybe Newcastle or Villa, potentially. I like the Villa shout. But when we think about their midfields, they're both kind of stacked, like Villa with Amadou Onana, Boubacar Kamara, John McGinn. But there's none of these players that worry me so much that I think Mainoo would not back himself to play ahead of them, for example. But when I think of the most fun option, if it's okay, I'm going to just drop two in there. One, I still think Newcastle United, because even though you have Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, and Joe Linton, let's be honest, once those three go and then you have to start playing a Joe Willock, or I don't even think they even consider Isaac Hayden part of their squad anymore. The point is, Newcastle are clearly at this great time in their career where they have all this money, but they can't spend it. Good for them. But they're trying to level up and be a big team by signing certain players that maybe are still biased towards the top traditional teams. I mean, when you look at the players they've tried to go for all summer, the João Pedros and Buemos of the world, everyone's just like, Newcastle, no. Kitike, no. Who wants to go to the Northeast? I'm not going to London. I'd rather go to fucking Liverpool or Man United. So there's a world where I can see a Newcastle move with the Champions League football games they want to play, the ambition they have. They also want to change their perception as a destination where people could go to win titles. They finally won a League Cup. They're going to be in the Champions League for the second time in 3 years. They want to show their actual players that, look, we're a big team. We're not just a team, even though they're still below the tier of us big boys, of course. But there's a world where if he doesn't mind being in Newcastle, I could see Newcastle being a potentially good move. You would like to think that with the amount of games they have to play, he will get minutes. And I think he has a slightly different profile to everything that each of their midfielders currently have. He may not necessarily be aggressive as Guimaraes, but you could say he's probably a bit better in terms of defensive actions than almost all three of them, depending on what action you're looking at. But at the same time, the Kobbie Mainoo I remember watching is also a good box-to-box and pretty effective, at least just in front of the penalty box. So he's not exactly useless. You could almost see him being like a poor man's Declan Rice, depending on the kind of training and development that goes on in his career over the next few years. So I would say Newcastle, and then my other wild card would be somewhere in Europe. I haven't thought it through, but the Champions League clubs in Serie A and the Bundesliga, or even La Liga, maybe not Atletico Madrid because I know they just signed Johnny Cardozo, but my thinking is around those kind of names. And Atletico Madrid is going to be the Champions League. Villarreal is going to be the Champions League. Napoli could probably do with the Mainoo. I don't know if they could pay his wages, but Champions League team, current defending champions. Inter probably not. They have quite a few midfielders, but even them, would you say Mainoo is not better than Aslani, for example? I would say he is. So that's my thinking. The Leverkusens of the world, the Dortmunds of the world, they're always partial to a British player alone. They love it. They're gagging for it. So I'd say Newcastle when I think about Prem options, just because of the visibility of the team to still maintain playing for one of the bigger teams, because that still affects your profiling for the national team. Yes, there's teams like the Brentfords, the Nottinghams, the Bournemouths of the world you could go to, but that will probably affect his chances of playing in the World Cup a bit more than you would expect. Yes, Tuchel looks like someone that really focuses on form. You can see Chalobah getting caps here or there, but you don't want to play with your food. The World Cup is every 4 years. So I'd say Newcastle on home soil. But the reason why I mentioned a bunch of clubs in Europe is I haven't looked too deeply into their midfield setups to see where it fits in. But I think any of those teams where you're still challenging for the title and also playing in the Champions League could also be a nice sweet spot for Mainoo because Tuchel's a German. He looks at other countries. It's not like the Southgates and the what's that under 21 Lee Carsley, where let's be honest, these are Prem watchers. They don't give a fuck about what you're doing in unless you're Joe Gomez, you know. So I think those would be the most fun ones for me. Like if he goes to Newcastle and cranks it up, I mean, I think that would be a win-win for everybody. So that's my pick for this one.
I love the Newcastle pick, honestly, Olu. But in my head, if he goes to Newcastle, that's not a loan. He's not going to Newcastle on a loan. They're buying him, and they're gonna do a loan to buy, and they're paying for him. Newcastle screams to me like if in 2014 when the Buffalo Bills were set for sale, if Trump actually got them, what would have happened? Like that's what Newcastle is right now to me. Also, like just makes me so jealous that Manchester United is not owned by Qatari money right now. And I don't care where it came from, but it does make me jealous.
Did anyone figure out that rumor about that Qatari guy that no one ever saw an interview from or something?
Sounds like the Glazers liked to keep their conversations on the inside. And if there's anything that I've learned,
I'd be shook. I tell people in England all the time, I don't care how much banter there is in football. Man United is the biggest club in this country. Like, forget Liverpool winning. They match you. In fact, Jurgen Klopp changed Liverpool's lives. Before this 10-year period of Liverpool knew their place in the hierarchy. I'm not gonna say more than that. But Man United, I can imagine the feeling when they said you then say Man United and then add Qatari money. Man United is the only club in England that they went to Parliament to debate the sale of Man United to literally stop Sky from buying them. Sky were literally the rights holders for the league and tried to buy Man United in like 1998, 1999. So forget all the slander. The slander will always come. But make no mistake about it, this is a giant of a team. So I remember those Qatar rumors. Oh my God, thanks for reminding me. It's like flashbacks in a positive way. I was like,
do you know how excited I was when I saw the first video show up on my feed that said the possibility of that?
We would have been in trouble because unlike Newcastle, who have to deal with these restrictions, Man United is a revenue-making machine. So
could you imagine if they weren't treated as a profit?
I know.
Like,
wow. I'm so glad that didn't happen, just in case that's not clear.
That's fair. Honestly, that's so fair. I'm upset about it. All right, so Newcastle I totally agree. Like the Dortmunds, your Champions League Europe teams definitely makes total sense. Aanu, for you, most fun option for Kobbie Mainoo?
Sure. So, most fun option for me would be a loan move to Leverkusen, a reunion with Mr. Ten Hag, who helped him with his entire career. So that would be my most fun option for Mainoo. Also, I think for Leverkusen, actually, they do need him because he can either be a Verts replacement or a Xhaka replacement. So since he can play in the 10 or play in the 8, and they've not really replaced these players, I know Xhaka might move to Milan, he might move to Sunderland, he might move to Saudi. So clearly, he's not staying. So they will need somebody to replace him, and I think the perfect person to do that would be Mainoo.
I love that. I was on the Ten Hag train for like before Ranić got there. Like while Ole was in about 2 months before he was really, like being walked up to the podium to, get run off. I was on like why have we not this guy in the Netherlands, like what are we doing, guys? He's a football genius. Like can we do something about that? And then they tried to do something about that.
The thing with like the Ten Hag thing is, he just wasn't smart enough in like how he moved in the market. So, for example, when he signed Anthony, I mean, that was just ludicrous, wasn't it? Yeah.
Which, though, do you remember what Ranić said when he said hire Ten Hag?
No.
He said, keep me for acquisitions.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He literally said, hire him to be your coach and make me your director of football operations.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So they still had the same president of football ops for almost the entire time with all those 5 different coaches on after Sir Alex, and that's the purgatory that they've found themselves falling into.
No, yeah, and like I think before we move on, obviously, the sporting side has clearly been the most chaotic part of Man United for like the past 10 years. It's just, for example, in my opinion, they should have kept Dan Ashworth because I think at least he was like the smartest person in the room there. But clearly, since he had some problems with the owner, that's like the main reason why he got his pink slip. So with Wilcox, the thing is, people claim he's like the best in class, and I'm like, the best in what class, bro? Like he literally came from Southampton in the championship, so he's literally like learning on the job. Clearly, hence why they paid more for Buemo, though they literally wasted 5 weeks and still paid more anyway. So they still haven't really fixed it. It will certainly be fun to see who they bring in next, but I'm not I'm not super optimistic about it all. No.
Yeah, no, it's there have been a lot of guys over the years that there are qualities that you absolutely love about them and you want them to stay in certain capacities. And then there's other aspects where you're like, what are we doing here? We're still riding this out kind of thing. But yeah, lots been going on. For fun options for me, my fun option is Amorim wanting him to start. Let's be real. Let's be really clear. My fun option is that this Manchester United team realizes what they have. And you know what? It is the fun time, so I can say that because it's not the realistic one at all. That is my idea of fun. Although I will say from the Kobbie Mainoo perspective, I think it would be fun for him to just take his talents to a completely different team, but still along the lines of what I said the last time I was on this podcast, which was that he fits really well as a midfielder in a 3/5 back hybrid system. Chelsea. Let him go. That would be the other thing that for him, I think would be the most fun. Not for me as a Manchester United fan in any way, but for him would be the most fun.
The thing with Mainoo playing in the 3-4-3, who would you say is like the best person to play with him?
See, that's the thing that I think is his superpower, is that it doesn't matter as long as they're not the same type of versatile that he is, because you can drop as long as you don't drop a true 8 in next to him, he can be anything. You know what I mean? And I think the second that but at the same time, if you have a team that's got 2 true 8s, I mean, that's to me a perfect scenario. You just say, cool, you guys each have half the field to do whatever you want. Split that baby right down the middle and help each other when you realize the other one's out of position. And know that if one of you is going to cover a wing, you've got the whole middle of the field. And like that's an ideal scenario to me, actually, just as like a football tactician thought process thing. He can do so many things. Like I wouldn't want to even like handcuff him with anything, really.
So I'd say, excuse me, the one problem with Mainoo is that he really hasn't got legs like that, right? So like he has pretty much everything else, but he's not like the strongest runner. He's certainly not the fastest runner either. And I feel like that's part of like the this profiling is people think he's fast and he's not. He's he is actually fairly slow. So the thing is like per se he's playing, he needs somebody who has legs for days.
I see what you're saying. I'm also, I again come from the opinion of a slow person. I've never been fast. And positioning has been my best friend my entire life that I've played sports. And so it's one of those things, two things. When you're not fast, you know how to play angles and you know how to not get beat. And I think he does a really good job of that. I also think at the end of the day, like recovery speed is a different gear that anybody ever finds. And when you see your wingback all the way up there, most guys find a different way to get to that spot than their normal manner of getting there. I don't know. That's just me personally. I've only ever found afterburners in the deer in the headlights moments in my life. But no, I do get what you're saying though. Like having if you're gonna do that system of 2-8s and let them be 2-8s, you do want at least one of those two guys to just be your energizer bunny, I guess is the way that I would put it. So that he can be that positional kind of player. I don't want to like say he's like Sergio Busquets, but like, you know, like let him be able to play like that if he needed to would probably put him in a great scenario, right? I just wouldn't want him to be cuffed being back that far. I really like the idea of two almost positionless midfielders in the sense that they fully understand everything that needs to happen in the middle of the field and it is just their responsibility and it's go and it's fill. And then when you have three guys at the back, that top center back is a CDM, right? Pretty much. He can also fill for them and help them. And then you're running everything like that. I mean, yeah, I love the idea of him staying. All right. So our fun options are Newcastle, Leverkusen, and staying. And our most realistic options, ironically, also include staying, but that's from a different perspective. We take it now to the wild card conversation. And Aanu, I'll start with you on this one, actually, for the wild card. I mean, last time I was here for wild card, I said that Rashford should go to Inter Miami. So anything's possible right now. What do you got?
So for the wild card option for me, Kobbie Mainoo needs to go on loan to Stade Rennais. Stade Rennais is the best club in France for developing young talents. They will make anyone a superstar. The person who played his ass off in the UCL final came from Stade Rennais. They're ballers and they make ballers. So it's like it would either be a loan to Rennes or a loan to Lille because those two teams make young players look like fucking phenomenons. So those would be the wildcard options for me.
Heading over to France for a wild
Yeah,
card.
yeah.
New. Okay. Olu, your wild card pick for Kobbie Mainoo?
I don't know how much of a wild card it would be because I've mentioned it before, but I was thinking probably Napoli. You know, I don't think he's someone that's probably on their radar right now. But when you look at their team, they're defending champions, but let's be honest. You can't say somebody else should have won it because Napoli won it, but Inter should have won the Serie A title. Let's be honest. Like, I don't know if you saw the games, like the way they bottled it to Lazio at home. Like, the whole point is Napoli's central midfield is good, but it's not great. They've got Scott McTominay playing as number 10. So their anchor is basically Lobotka and Anguissa. And yes, they've won 2 Serie A titles as Lobotka and Anguissa. When you look at Napoli's performances in Europe, there's some things that tell you that this is a midfield that could do with some improving. You know, they've also got Billy Gilmore, but let's be honest, how many games is Billy Gilmore going to play? So I think there's a world where a Kobbie Mainoo could go to Napoli for a season. Syria are broke boys, so they're gonna offer you a loan anyway. Loan to buy, maybe, if they're feeling funky. But go to Napoli. I went to Napoli when the year Osimhen won the Scudetto. I went to watch the game where they just won the title. And a lot of times we hear these things on TV about like passion of fans, and we think it's, yeah, right, they're passionate. But trust me, this Napoli one is real. Like, I'd never seen them like a black man like that in my life before. Everywhere I went, it was like Maradona murals, Osimhen murals. Like, I mean, like you could go anywhere. It's just, I bought Osimhen bobbleheads, Osimhen socks, Osimhen, like, I mean, like things that even in Nigeria he won't feel that kind of love. So this is the one city I've been to myself. I've heard Newcastle may be like that. I don't know, but a true one city club where like every facet of the environment is literally linked to Napoli. So you can go there for Man United, get away from the toxicity, the pressure. Let's be honest. I mean, I can't believe the Prem did you guys so dirty. Put Arsenal your first game. Like, I'm looking forward to the Gyökeres celebrations already. But someone like Mainoo, go to Napoli, go and defend the Serie A title. You get to play under Antonio Conte. So Napoli still remain one of the favorites. They've just signed Kevin De Bruyne. I'm not sure how that's going to work with De Bruyne and McTominay. They've also signed Lorenzo Luca to play with Lukaku. So, I mean, it's quite ironic because, let's be honest, they've got the better striker that they're trying to sell, Victor Osimhen. I don't get it. But the whole point is Napoli have a squad that's there to challenge for the title. And if they're going to do a better job of assaulting Europe while trying to go for a title, because we know how good Conte is at these no Europe seasons where he could play one game a week. But if you need more squad depth, you add a Mainoo to the mix of a Lobotka and a Anguissa. All of a sudden, you're looking a bit more tasty. You could handle, the rigors of the season. He still gets to play in the Champions League. He still gets challenged for a title. His rep could still go up conceivably, but he also gets to experience a new culture, a new environment. And I don't know if this is a random point, but I've seen Mainoo's pictures. He looks like a bit of a cultured guy. Like, he's going on holiday to interesting places. He like me. I love limoncello now because I went to Naples twice. So from a even just a human being perspective as a footballer, I think Napoli could be quite an interesting move. But this is real wild card. I don't know if they have the finances. I don't know if they could afford him. But I think that would be an interesting move where it does not diminish his rep, but at the same time, he gets to grow his rep at the same time and still stay with the fighting chance of making the World Cup squad next year. So, and I have a soft spot for Napoli. Forget the Osimhen thing. Like, I've always liked them, and even though it's ended on a solo note, I there's something about Napoli I just like. So it'll be lovely.
Bro, I love the Napoli shop.
Yeah, there we go.
No, that's you just like fanboy pitched me, I feel like, and I'm here for it. I'll be completely honest. I won't lie. When you started saying Serie A at all, I was like, should a brother go to Italy? And then you explain Napoli, and I'm like, okay, I'm here for it then.
It's the one place, as long as you perform well, you will feel the love. Like that one is sure. And you get to play Conte ball. So he's not necessarily the best at rotating, but if you're a player with the powerhouse frame and the good kind of skill set that Mainoo has, there's a world where you'd rather be trained by a Conte than even Amarin, So that's just a nice wild card shout. And I'm quite intrigued to see how Napoli balance going for the title again with actual European football. Because the two times they've won the Scudetto now, the Osimhen year and I mean last year they didn't play in Europe, but the Osimhen year I was so disappointed because they played the quarterfinal against, was it AC Milan? And then the semi-final was AC Milan and Inter Milan. It was the year that Man City beat Inter in the final. And I was so disappointed because Napoli were better than all of them. There's no reason Napoli should not have made the final. Osimhen missed the first leg of the quarterfinal. Next thing you know, AC Milan were 2-0 up. Second leg, he tries to do a hero ball move. But so I'm intrigued to see how Napoli can balance the workload of Europe as well as Serie A while assaulting both well. So I think someone like Mainoo, I mean, look, Amarin's done his best to tank Mainoo's value. But I tell you, out of all these players they talk about in United, if they said take one, before Arsenal signed this no guard brother. Bro, if Mainoo wanted to come to the carpet, I would have been very happy. So that lets me know how I feel about just him as a player and his development. I think people are really forgetting just how good Mainoo is and how quickly he burst onto the scene to become a starter. I hate when they use the England thing because England never win anything and they use it as a bridge to like dump on Nigeria. It's like, nah, you lot don't win shit. But still, in 6 months, you became an England international, starting games in the Euros, where your country even made the final. You know, you could argue that Southgate ball was dreadful, but I don't think Mainoo did anything to hurt his own chances specifically. So, you know, I just think, like I said again, contract year, World Cup year, that would be quite an interesting wild card just to see it, like what plays out. You know, Italy already struggling to make the World Cup again. Are they going to be upset? What does that look like in terms of their qualifying and how they perform with club sides? So I'm just looking forward to it all. But I think that'll be an interesting one for us to peruse and look into for sure.
Definitely. I just opened my Manchester United app on my phone because my favorite thing now that I'm over the age of 20 is checking the date of birth of these young players and feeling like an old man. Can you guess what year Kobbie Mainoo was born?
Yeah, 2003.
2005 or 2004?
2005.
Wow.
Yeah, he can't even legally buy a beer in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like think about like he's like exactly to what you said, Olu. He's so young. He came out of the scene so quick. Like, dude's got so much career left.
It's
like
crazy thinking that there's footballers who did not watch like Thierry Henry at Arsenal. Like that's what that pops into my head now. You said that because like
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
literally.
That means 2006 World Cup with all the total 90 kids. He don't even have the memory. That
He doesn't even remember the best Manchester United jerseys ever.
Literally.
07 away,
Literally.
black.
Yeah.
He probably remembers the Van Persie year. He should be 8 years
Bro,
old.
bro, straight up, I still remember like the moment that I felt old was when I was hearing um some interview with Cole Palmer, and he said that he had never watched Zola play. He'd never watched Zola play, bro. That's the first time in my life I have felt old.
Wow. Man,
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro. It's really, I mean, the world of athletics also just, and you know, guys getting younger and younger, it feels like it is just crazy. But wild cards, we've got Rennes and Lille in Ligue 1. We've got Napoli. I thought about staying on the same wavelength as you guys with these like not so wild cards that are like feel really truly possible. You know, like for some reason Borussia Dortmund like really sticks in my head right now as like a team that can fit here. And it could fit here. It could. But I want to take us on a bit more of an adventure. Take Wrexham up.
Bro, he's played for England. There's no way he's ever playing in the championship again.
No. Go to Wales.
No.
Go to Wales. Be the face of Welsh soccer. No.
Bro,
no.
That is such a downgrade for Mainoo. It's insane.
Yeah, it would be, but it would also be one of those things of, you know, I mean, it's not similar to Wolves, but it's that kind of thing of what I was saying with our first picks of Wolves being like, you get to be one of the key faces of the team. There he would be the face of the entire thing.
Yeah.
I think maybe not like, this year, but how crazy would it be? Think about the rise of that team. One day in his career, he's born in 2005. One day in his career, we could be actually talking about Kobbie Mainoo going to Wrexham as a Premier League team.
I like the ethos behind the suggestion, but just knowing England, like my God, I think what could be an interesting good shout,
bro. So many people would troll him so badly.
100%.
Oh my god.
That pick by CB though, I like that. It's inspired because what about if we don't say Wrexham but like a Sunderland? I don't know if you've been seeing the moves Sunderland have been making.
Yeah,
since
yeah,
they
yeah.
got back into the Prem. I know apparently the Lorient move is off, but when you think about
Mm.
Ingra and some of the players they're signing, if we're talking wild card, go Sunderland for a year, passion, you play in the Prem, probably affect your World Cup chances, but hey, you play in the Prem, you may keep them up. And Sunderland, like Leeds, are one of those teams. Like, if you genuinely keep them up, let's be honest, these are big traditional clubs.
Bro,
They're
he
just
will literally be a legend.
That's why
A
I always
legend.
mention Nottingham
Yeah.
Forest, because these like Forest, Leeds, Sunderland, they're kind of teams that like their rep is bigger than their current like level.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if you could somehow like go in there and be a think about Asamoah Gyan playing for Sunderland for 1 year.
Oh my God, bro.
Hmm.
Spirits will never forget Jan.
You know,
No.
so I like that
Mm-mm.
shout, but if you swap Rex out, because I think championship's a bit too low, like he's never gonna do that. But a Sunderland, a Leeds, that could be a wild card. I don't know what you guys think.
I like that. No, you're saving me on this one right now. Although you are for sure, you are. And I also still like that Borussia Dortmund shout a little bit. I feel like
That's
we
a
didn't
great
give Germany enough love. I feel
That's
like we didn't give Germany any other than Leverkusen love today. But yeah. Dortmund's always a good
they love to focus their love for one player at a time. So now
True.
that they're riding this whole Joe Bellingham wave, do they
Right.
have enough ass licking to go around?
I
If
don't
they,
know, but if you could you imagine the two of them in the same midfield though? Ooh,
yeah, I
that
mean,
would
I
be.
haven't watched Job enough apart from the Club World Cup, but he looked better than I thought. I'm not gonna lie.
I
But
think that's that kind of center mid pairing that at the end of the day would look really awesome for Kobbie. Like he would look better in that pairing in that situation. But all right, wild cards. I love Sunderland. That like sticks to me. Sunderland, Napoli, and Stade. Those are and Lille. France. France
Rennes.
development, Napoli championship run, and being in the Champions League in Europe and taking an England team out of relegation. Those are our three wild
I
cards.
see the
Right?
vision. I see the vision.
All right. Anything else from anybody before we wrap it up here, Aanu?
Yes. So the one thing I want to say before we end is the one thing I'm scared of with Mainoo is that he might end up like um a Rashford in the sense that the fans might happen to like turn on him. And I feel like the one reason that might happen is if he stays there for too long, because that's the mistake that happened with Rashford was that I think he just stayed there for too long and he was just in such a period of instability that he felt as though he like had to stay, though in reality he really didn't. So that's the one reason why I really want Mainoo to leave. It's not because I hate like the club or anything like that. It's more because I like love him and I really don't want him to like waste his entire career in such a fruitless club.
That's completely valid. And that's why I think, when I was thinking about that fun conversation and the fun options, it's like at the end of the day, fun for a Manchester United fan is not the same fun for the player that is currently at Manchester United, just at all. Because, and I think this is my last point that I'll come to before we get into our wrap here. At the end of the day, this is a team that sees their multi-billion-dollar organization as a business. Other teams in the Prem look at them as teams. Manchester City and Liverpool look at their teams as teams. Manchester United looks at their team as something that they can try to make money from or cut tax money out of their own costs from with having. And because of that, we have to have conversations like this because at the end of the day, all of these players would be in fantastic positions right now at Manchester United if the key thing every single time was let's put the best team on the field. Let's give them the best possibilities to succeed with the best coaches. And let's put everything in the control of people who know the sport of Premier League football. And that has not happened since Sir Alex Ferguson stepped down from the team. And there's a reason that we have seen less and less appearances from him aside from his health over the last period of time.
To be honest, guys, it's reached the point where, look, I hate Man United. I'm not gonna lie. I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm 32 years old.
Fair.
Like, join the dots. But my God, it's reaching the point where it's like, you don't ever want your rivals to start pitting you. When your rivals start pitting you and like telling you to rise up, that's when you know you have like a big problem on your hands. And I'm so sad to see. Well, actually, I'm not that sad. But it's sad to see Man United turn into this like almost like joke. Like, I still can't believe you lost to Tottenham in a Europa League final. I'll be honest. Like, when I think about, you guys just saw one of my favorite players in the Premier League, Matthias Cunha. If Cunha does not deliver at Man United, then I know it's really something in the water of that you're building. Like, between the Di Marias, the Pogbas, the everybody's who's gone there and flopped, like, it's too long. And it's crazy how like a place that can be so associated with excellence and bringing, you know, even when you had the dull years with Alex Ferguson, he'll revamp, figure something out. The point is, it's reached so bad that even me, I want to see my United rise. And then secondly, for me, after all these discussions, I think you guys be crazy to let Kobbie Mainoo go. Crazy. And I think it's a big indictment on your manager that he can't figure out how to use one of your best players. So it's nice that we're looking at all these options, but I want to be honest. If this guy leaves United, I think Amorim needs 50 lashes of Kane. I'll be honest. So that's my 2 cents to him.
Dude.
Legit. I wish I was exaggerating, bro. Legit.
You know, the funny part is, in America, you could only do that in California. So
Literally.
I can't believe it.
No, that's so fair though. That's a perfect final point of this conversation. Honestly, it would be absurd for them to let him go in anything other than a loan.
I think you're even giving your manager enough leeway. It's time for you to get a sporting director that's like, look, Amorim, we trust you, but you haven't given us enough evidence that we're going to give you the whole keys. Figure out a way to make this boy shine, or you're out. We're not selling him. Done. And keep moving. Because if you're not careful, you're going to have this situation.
That feels like what they will do, but because that's what I feel like Manchester United has done with all of their managers, is they've said, here's your timeline to get the keys. And if you like, it's like being a teacher at school, and it's like, nope, we're either going to give you tenure and you're going to stay here, or we're not going to give you tenure and you're gone right now. Like the second we decide we're not going to give it to you. But yeah, it does feel like that kind of would be a possibility that really could happen. The same kind of thing that I said a couple weeks ago. And now Amorim has said that he does want him in the team, but with the moves, he doesn't necessarily find that every single game spot. He should, but in knowing the Manchester United logic that has existed over the last X number of years, that's just not going to happen. It just makes it a very frustrating situation overall. But yeah, he's 20 years old. He's got 15 years of a career at minimum left in front of him. And he has probably 2 different variations of an entire game of football that he's going to be able to play before he's done. He's going to be able to revamp his entire career like 2 times before he's done playing at this point. So it's just like, do not let go of that opportunity.
And he's got an intangible that you can't teach. That kind of powerhouse, not just apart from his brain intelligence, but that kind of endurance physically, it cannot be taught, in my opinion. Look, there's a reason why there's certain demographics of players you see all the time. This is a player that has a special skill set. And I honestly, guys, like, we could go over another hour, but I can't believe we're having this chat. Like,
yeah.
I know it's based on what your team have done last year. But if you told me Mainoo would be in this position, I would have called you a liar. I can't believe it. Honestly, I can't believe it.
Yeah. No, it
So,
is absolutely crazy.
CB, final
Yeah.
question for you. Where do
Yeah.
you think Man United will place next season?
Ooh.
12th. Honestly, there's no chance of Europe. I think their best case scenario is I don't even think they're fighting for Europa League next year. Honestly. Which is just unfortunate, but I just look through that roster and I'm like, guys, you still are trying to play Harry Maguire. What Manchester United fan, when they signed him, liked that idea? What Manchester United fan, when they gave him the captain's band, liked that he was? It's just like, what? Or talk about like pace and wanting to have that ferocious aspect. The best part of his game for 2 years was heading the ball, and he's a center back. Like that shouldn't be your like latched on moment. Should be that your center back's best skill on the field is that he can hit the ball with his forehead on a corner kick at all. But so yeah, I mean, I'd say 12th. Honestly, I don't think there's any true contention. I think it's more so, can they drag somebody else from the top of the Premier League down a little bit of the way with them and hope that they're not the only one? The way that like they kind of had Tottenham around them this year, they need another situation like that to kind of make it look better. But I don't think we're looking at a good scenario for the team. And if they do finish there, then Amarim's done. So, like, I mean, that's yeah. It's not looking up right now in the Manchester United eyes, but that's why you look at a player like Kobbie Mainoo and you say, if we're going to end 12th, I want to have the 20-year-olds still on the team at the end of the day. I don't want to be a team full of 30-year-olds that goes 12th.
Because in a few years, when you get good, he should be able to. It's like Saka now. Like,
Yep.
He was there in the trenches, you know.
Exactly.
But I can't believe even that statement. Like, I looked at the Premier League table, like, realistically, where can Man United end up? Like, there's at least 10 teams better than you. But we have to also respect heritage and, like, ambition. I can't even believe I'm saying we should hope Man United finish in the top 10. Like, you know how absurd that sounds? It's like, what's really happened, man? But I think objectively, that has to be the aim. Like, finish in the top 10, see if you can somehow make Europe top 8. I don't know. But right now, when you look at certain teams, I mean, I was looking at the table. I think there's at least 8 that there's no debates. Arsenal, Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Newcastle. Tottenham will be better than United with Thomas Frank for sure. And then Nottingham Forest, you could say give or take. That's already 8 teams. So we don't even know about the Bournemouths or the Crystal Palaces or, you know, those teams that like on any given season, they could show like a bit of threat or like something. So it just feels, but at the same time, any team adding Matias Cunha and Mbuemo to their team, like I'm moving my fan heart right now. These are jogadors. Like, oh my God. I can't explain how much I love Matias Cunha. If these guys can't figure it out for you, then I don't know what's going on. So let's see what happens. But I think Man United, the one positive we could say is you're signing actual game changers. Patrick Dogu is not a game changer. Yes, I wish he played for Nigeria over Denmark, but you could see why he came from Lecce watching him play. You could tell he was playing for one of the worst teams in Serie A previously, even with the talent. But Cunha and Mbuemo, if these two cannot figure something out of some sort, then questions will be asked for sure because it's just not adding up no more, you know. But my God, are we going to enjoy ourselves watching it? I'll tell you that for sure. So bring it on. I'm excited. I'm buzzing, to be honest. So Old Trafford, the game week 1, well, we go exactly 4 weeks from today. We'll be there. So let's see if Kobbie Mainoo will be on the bench or in the starting lineup.
Let's see if he'll be in Old Trafford, right? Ultimately, geez Louise. No, you know what, Olu, you're right. But at the end of the day, it will be exactly what it's been for 5 years. If it doesn't work out, it will be that the ownership has put them in this situation just again. But that's going to do it for us here today. An hour, as we hit an hour into this conversation about Kobbie Mainoo. Sometimes the conversation is just so absurd. You got to have it for that long. You know, it's that crazy. But thank you for joining us. Please like and comment on any suggestions you agree or disagree with. Subscribe and hit that bell to be notified for our next episode. Next time, we will be discussing the top 5 free agents still available this summer. But that's going to do it for us this week on the Most Entertaining Podcast, episode 8. Have a good week, everyone.